8 rounds down, and 6 more to go here in the regular season for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. And for this next round here, just past halfway through the regular season, we head overseas for the first and only time this season, and international for the second and final time. Good evening, folks, and welcome aboard another live production of the E-Motorsports Network on iRacing. We are live for round number 9 here in the regular season, and overall for Season 6 out of 21 races for the 6th season of NASCAR Racing, live from Monza, Italy. It is the Pizza Main 180. And thus back here for a second consecutive season after making our debut here last year for season number 5. And oh boy, we are coming off an exciting race and finish last year, and we hope to continue that momentum onward into tonight as we will head into a broadcast booth. My name is Regan McCauley. Alongside me, Jordy Caraher, been here ever since the very beginning, and we're very pleased to bring you back the action here once again for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. Of course, Jordy, these last couple of weeks have had some fairly interesting races, maybe a couple of wreck fests and a bit of a slowdown here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway last Monday night for our one of our crown jewel events, the Zesty Paws 300, also known as the World 300. Of course, a race where there was a lot more balance throughout it compared to some of the races back at Texas and Martinsville over weeks beforehand, where we had a couple incidents, especially early on. Then we had a big one in the late going. And then the drivers, of course, for the first time this season, after a big iRacing update, had to deal with more kind of a similar to the real-life counterpart of the next-gen car, you know, dealing with things such as dirty air and struggles to pass and, you know, tight race cars going through the corners and such. But to be quite honest, though, I think the drivers were able to pull through, and I think a lot of the drivers certainly, compared to expectations going into last Monday's race, I think some drivers were pretty impressed with how things turned out.
100%. I mean, I think as guys adapted to the update, that's effectively what helped level the playing field last week. Maybe guys were just that little extra bit cautious given the unpredictability of what racing within a bigger pack was going to be like. And, ultimately it felt like it after, a couple of incidents in stage one. After that, it seemed like things really calmed down and we found a bit of a return to form, so to speak.
Indeed, especially in the late going of this one, a lot of comers and goers within the top 10, a restart with under 40 laps remaining to all the way green flag racing to the end. Of course, we had some of our drivers that were just barely not able to make it to the end, had to make a pit stop. Unfortunately, worse position than expected. And there were some guys that just barely were able to make it to the end. And one of them, of course, you referred to this guy after the checker flag as the ultimate endurance driver, of course, the number 48 of Scott Bailey, former NASCAR Series champion, picking up his second win of Season 6 and 13th career victory in our NASCAR Series. Took charge off that final, or at least Jared Ireland took charge off that final restart before he had to make his pit stop. Then Bailey inherited the race lead, and he held off a hard-charging rookie in Raymond Hanneman. Of course, Bailey leading 29 laps. He scored the best average lap of the race and collected 58 total points, including 18 bonus points in there as well. But Bailey, the veteran, trying to hang off the rookie Hanneman. 85 car came up just short there, but again, back to that point, ultimate endurance driver. Maybe follow up on a little bit of that for Scott Bailey, Jordy.
I think it's just the matter of him just not being two-phased or being caught up in early situations, always sort of playing that long game, so to speak. And he even told us in the post-race chat there last week that he looked at the first two stages as sort of test sessions, given that he hadn't had much time behind the wheel after the most recent iRacing update. So it was a matter of coming to grips with being comfortable with the new tire models, the new drafting models, everything else that came with the updates. But for him, ultimately, it was, I say, finding that comfort factor. And once he did, that's where he was able to kind of flip the switch and find himself competitive toward the end, which is sort of a hallmark for him. Is it doesn't seem to matter where he is in the field, he's always going to be a threat at the end.
100%. Here are your full race results from last Monday's Zesty Paws 300, round number 8 of 21 on the season. Of course, again, Bailey getting the win after qualifying in 9th. In behind him, falling just short of the victory, but still ending up with the Repulinks fastest lap nonetheless, and 12 laps led as well. The 85 of rookie Raymond Hanneman out of Ontario. He charged from 10th to 2nd within about 25 laps or so when we saw that the final pit strategies and such come through in the off that final restart late in the Zesty Paws 300. Got Jared Ireland and Corbin McCauley as well, another driver that were forced to pit, not able to make it to the end. Of course, very different stints between a couple different drivers, but that was a hell of a hard charge from the rookie there, again, from 10 to 2nd off that final restart. CD Mangrum, Ty Higginbottom getting some great points for their team in Tornado Alley Racing. Of course, while Adam Wilson did finish second to last in 22nd, do remember with our team standings, of course, only the points from the top 2 best finishing drivers are accumulated. So again, big points for the one, the 97, extending their Valvoline team standings lead right there. A quiet top 5 run at a Mason Tomlinson. Impressive job by Jose Mercado. Mario Arcolini pulling off his second top 10 within the last 3 races in there as well. Pole sitter Corbin McCauley ended up with a top 10 finish. We saw him up there battling for about a top 5 finish or so. Unfortunately, had to make his way to pit road. Back to the topic of Adam Wilson, only lasting 20 laps due to an early incident involving Justin Belmonte and Hanneman actually being in there as well, but he was able to end up on the lucky end of that whole deal. A lot of cars, unfortunately, not able to make it to the very end of, again, pretty much our longest race of the season, our endurance race. Anything else you want to cover for results, Jordy?
Well, looking at it and realizing there were only 7 cars that ended up on the lead lap, I figured the number would be a little bit higher than that. But the longer green flag runs would certainly explain that, not anomaly, but certainly quirk of that race. But Yeah, it was a grind for everybody involved. And yeah, tonight, completely different kind of challenge.
So this race only took about 2 hours and 2 minutes to complete, about the same length as last year, and still a heck of a lot better than just over 2.5 hours 2 years back, that infamous World 300 back in Season 4. 9 leaders, 17 lead changes, 6 cautions for 18 of 200 laps. So again, we had that balance from a couple of incidents at the start and at the finish, but then that in between, we saw a lot of green flag racing, some really wicked side-by-side action. But moving on there now to the driver standings, of course. At the very top, Jordan Kalinian, both in this graph you can see and also in our overall points over on Sim Racer Hub. Sini Mangrum continues to be the quote-unquote best of the rest in terms of drivers that still have yet to pick up a win on the season. Corbin McCauley just a couple points behind of him there. And I must say, how about a hard charge right there from Missouri's Ty Higginbottom in 5th place? Plus 45 on the graphic, although is a little bit different when you have to first count all the drivers with wins already locked into the playoffs and then count everyone else. Kind of have to do a bit of a counting game right there, but still, nonetheless, Higginbottom started his season 24th in points at Daytona, 18 points below the cut line. He stayed down there just for a couple more races, and now being all the way up there, 5th on the graphic and in overall points as well, 3rd best driver without a win thus far. Man, oh man, I feel like we kind of had that feeling it was inevitable he was going to charge his way up.
I mean, you would expect that from a former series champion, yes, he would eventually round his way into form, and I think we're seeing that comfortably at this point.
And should be noted too, there is no longer a lock behind William Kern's name, so by the looks of it, only 4 playoff spots now. It sounds like the 31 is not with us anymore for the rest of the season, so that opens up another playoff spot.
Indeed it does, and yeah, that just gives us a little bit more competition toward the bottom, or toward our bubble, once we get closer to that sort of reality coming.
So with that being said, that means Adam Wilson, the 21, you see him 10th on the graphic, but if you count everyone together again, lock drivers and those without a win, in order, Wilson currently 4 points above Andy Hurdle for the final playoff spot, with Darcy Ford 27 points back. Jared Ireland's 30 back with just 2 less starts, so it's kind of a interesting situation right there. Moving on to the Valvoline Instant Oil Change team standings, still Tornado Alley maintaining the team standings lead, up from plus 24 to plus 65 now over GTR. Overtaken Hyperdrive now for 2nd place. Again, only Tomlinson showing up for Hyperdrive, and then back row moves up over 519 Atlantic Motorsports for 4th place. So again, Tornado Alley had a bit of a struggling start to the year, but they started to kind of catch back up. Again, still early on in Season 6, trying to regain that dominant form that they had throughout the entirety of Season 5. And now to the manufacturer standings, it's still all Toyota. They're up by 20 points now. They were up by 230 points, over 2nd place, which was Ford last week. Now it's 250 over Chevrolet, who overtook Ford for 2nd now by 16 points. Separation there between 2nd and 3rd for the manufacturers. And then the Rookie of the Year standings, Raymond Hanneman, man, oh man, with 2 less starts on the year. Now 20 points back of Blake Thronberg. This could be a hell of a battle here as the next couple of weeks come along.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just as we see the clock strike the top of the hour here, I mean, we've seen plenty of reasons to be excited about all 4 of our rookies, honestly. Obviously, Hanneman with the win there a few weeks back. Thronberg's been knocking on the door. Ercolani's found some form lately. McDonald's been in the competition at times. Yeah, so let's see what they're capable of at this point.
And speaking of Ercolani as well, how about this underdog story out of him? Of course, 4 drivers remaining in our current Fort River Brewing Company in-season tournament, round number 4 out of 5. This is the penultimate race ahead of the finale next Monday night. So Mason Tomlinson up against Scott Bailey, and then C.D. Mangrum versus Mario Ercolani. We'll go into a little bit more details in just a little bit as qualifying about to get underway here at Monza. And we, of course, can't forget Valvoline Instant Oil Change here. Let's roll that clip before we get going. And thus to the racetrack in Monza, Italy, we go, of course, at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, or in English in some capacity, the Monza circuit. 15-minute qualifying session has begun here in Monza. So, of course, the driver with the fastest lap at the very end of 15 minutes will walk away with the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue pole for tonight's event.
Yeah, and I'm personally thrilled to be back at Monza here. As you mentioned off the top, it produced, I would say, one of our more entertaining races last season, quite honestly. And, you know, it'll be a little bit different for the guys this year, and we'll get into that once we get into the hot lap. But, yeah, I'm looking forward. Happy to be back here, and happy that it was so well received 1 year ago.
You know what? Here's your reigning champion of Monza. How about going to hot lap rhythm right now?
All right, yep, may as well. Monza, it's one of the track layouts almost anybody could recognize as Sears is coming down the main straight. Big difference this year, the chicanes are in place. So you see Sears braking hard here into this first chicane, and solid exit here as he was able to touch on those curbs fairly effectively coming around. And of course, this is our reigning winner from last season as he navigates the Curva Grande onto this mini straight, and he'll be coming down into the second chicane, already on the brakes at this point. Early turn in, solid turn out, nice and solid before he gets back on the gas pedal here. And this is where he won the race last year, was in these Lesmo corners, this first one especially. Little bit of a snap on the exit there that time around, but was effective against Jordan Kalinian last year as he comes out of the second Lesmo now. And he's now on to the back straightaway, which is one of the, well, second to the start-finish straight as he takes that little kink, and now it's an uphill approach to the Ascari chicane. And you can see on the brakes here already, early turn off, and longer chicane certainly than the first two he would have navigated over the course of the lap. Nice wide track out on the exit. That's going to let him build up some speed this time around. And it's another medium length straight here before we get into arguably the signature turn here at Monza, the Parabolica. So nice braking point there from the 32 as he navigates his way around. You can see his comfort with these road courses, and from here, it's just a hard charge to the line, and there is your lap of Monza.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Jordy, for that. Of course, we will have this for every single one of our road and street course races this season for the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. Our second time on a road course. Of course, we had Montreal some time ago. Sergei Gilles Villeneuve. Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 111. Bryce Fontaine picking up his first career NASCAR Series victory that day. So we'll see if maybe this time around we might have a similar situation. I know for Charlie Sears, of course, as you said, reigning winner, someone had a moment behind them.
Yeah, that was
maybe two cars,
Marini
actually,
for one, and maybe Thronberg as well behind.
No.
Okay, maybe it was Kalinian then, because it was that kind of scheme. I mean,
look like that.
He's certainly, got a margin for error if you happen to look at our timing screens right about now. This is right around the sharp end of the times he was setting when I popped into the practice session last night, as Sears goes for a little slide through Ascari.
A little dirt tracking.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, as I was saying there, Bryce Fontaine, first career NASCAR Series win back in Montreal. And then, of course, here, as you were talking about during this hot lap, the 32 of 499 Racing's Charlie Sears, former winner here last year, of course, already has that victory. It wouldn't be a first time for him, but just knowing how his season has gone here, his sophomore year in the NASCAR Series, this is the one race where he has that perfect opportunity to capitalize and come in clutch and be able to get that playoff spot, just like he did last year, because it kind of I wonder if it might be. Oh boy, I might have jinxed him.
Well, I mean, he's still second on the grid as it stands right now. So not as bad, maybe, but yeah, he'd love to get some more consistency under his belt here, to say the very least.
It was heading into this race last year, and I wonder if it might be a deja vu this year where it just hasn't been able to have that perfect luck. I mean, looking at some of his past finishes, only one top 15 on the year.
Yeah, and I mean, given the strength of the field this season, that's just not going to get it done at this point. So if a turnaround is going to start for him, it kind of has to happen tonight.
And hasn't even, for the last 6 races, hasn't been able to finish either. So this race is the golden turnaround for him to try and clinch himself into the 6th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. We'll see if he can do something similar to what he did last year. As now we're under 8 minutes remaining. 3-time winner this season. Many road and street course victories for this guy in the past, especially last year. Of course, this track last season being the only one he wasn't able to get a win at out of all of them. 0-0 of Salisbury, North Carolina's Jordan Kalinian. 4 for 5 in season 5.
Yeah, not for a lack of trying, though. As I mentioned during the hot lap, it was into the first of those Lesmo corners, which we'll be coming up on right after this chicane here. That's ultimately where Charlie Sears was able to get him. And from there on, it was just a dash to the finish, essentially. But still looking pretty good. I mean, he's the only one with a time that starts, below 150 right now, and he's smashed that threshold. And he'll get a nice little tow from Hanneman down the back straight.
Well, if he were to get this would be 6 road and street course poles in a row. Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue poles in a row. There we go.
I mean, as Hanneman spins right in front of him. Although I don't know if it would necessarily be this lap anyway. If you recall, I believe he ran wide through that first chicane, so he'd be just getting back up to speed anyway.
Picked up a top 5 in Montreal for round number 4. So we'll see if he can replicate something similar here in his first ever start at Monza.
Yeah, we'll have to... see if Hanneman's able to maintain the form that he's had, because, we've only... Well, no, you literally were just talking about Montreal. I was about to say this is the first time we've seen him on a road course. No, it's not.
No.
Yeah, so we will have to see. That's sort of where it seemed like he was getting comfortable, though I believe that was only his second run with us, maybe even his first. I'd have to go back and check. But, certainly he's acquitted himself very well in the time that's passed. And again, that's been primarily on your more traditional oval layouts. So we'll see if a return to the road courses does some good here for the 85.
Very close to his second win within 6 first starts in our series last Monday at Charlotte, but fell short of the 48 of Scott Bailey, who by the looks of it is not with us in the server at the moment, so we are guaranteed a different winner based on the last race at least. And you know what, to be fair, Montreal as well, we do not have a Bryce Fontaine with us as well. He has been kind of off for a couple of weeks. I believe next week or the week after will be his final absence, just based on what he told us a couple of weeks back.
I think he's back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there you go. So we are guaranteed, based on Montreal, a different road and street course winner this year. And then from the last race, just in general, any track at all, Scott Bailey not being here, at least at the moment. You never know if you might have, well, I don't know about a late show up at this point. Under 5 minutes to go in qualifying.
True, and I mean, you would hope so. It's a smaller field than we've seen over the course of the year, to say the very least.
Thought someone just heading off there going through that first chicane, but it looks like we're all good. Again, the infamous scene of a certain incident a couple of years ago between two Formula One phenoms.
I was going to say one wasn't a champion yet.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's, gone on to win 4 since, but that's, beside the point here for tonight, as we're on board with the man who, a little bit of a slide there out of the first Lesmo, is a little bit late setting the time, it has to be said, but Corbin McCauley currently second on the board right now. And yeah, it's just barely dipped under that 150 threshold, 149.997, his best time to date.
Charlottetown PEI driver, 2 career road and street course wins on the series, but those 2 previously coming in seasons 1 and 2, still has yet to pick up one on the iRacing side. Has had a couple decent finishes, but that win still eluded him as there went Jose Mercado. He either took the bounce and we didn't see it, or he barely missed that barrier.
Well, let's see if we can't go back here and figure it out. I'll go back so we don't have to interrupt.
Oh, about that. Okay, it was a decent
looks bounce. Like the boys might have played some tag. Yeah. Yep.
Barely. Anyway.
Back to the real-time action.
Yes, under 2 minutes now to go. It's still Jordan Kalinian leading the way by 2.5 over Corbin McCauley. Again, looking for, since last season, looking for 6 consecutive road and street course poles. Assuming I did the count right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 in a row.
I mean, he's a guy that we know puts in the time, so not necessarily a surprise to see a driver of that caliber who's willing to put in the effort have the results go his way the way they have. It's certainly a bit of an extremity, shall we say, compared to how we see it on the ovals, but I mean, he's fast just about anywhere, so not like, if he wasn't on pole, we'd expect him to be way up there anyway.
Looking into our live chat, JD Magram saying go get that win number 1. Of course, CD Magram currently 11th on the chart. Best time a 1:52.259. So that's just over 3.5 seconds back of Kalinian. And then Bryce Fontaine is keeping his fingers crossed for a bounce back for Charlie Sears. Again, we were talking all about him and his reigning Monza victory, and again, this chance for a significant turnaround just before we get to the 6th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But as qualifying wraps up, why not maybe go through a little bit of fun facts about the way things work here at Monza. Of course, they call it the Temple of Speed, considering the long straightaways and the high-speed corners. Again, the straightaway not near as long, knowing that we have the chicane Grand Prix layout now in place for this season compared to last year, where we know it was just hauling from the final corner all the way through that wide first turn and then still going straight through, kind of NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series style, how they once did it. 5.7 kilometers in length, 3.6 miles, 11 corners. Track was built and opened in 1922, as you saw someone have Tomlinson.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said the name. I thought it might have been McDonald at first, but it was I saw the red. I didn't see the rest of the streak. Anyway, continue.
Yes. Track built and opened in 1922. I believe this modern Grand Prix circuit has been in use since 2000. And of course, this track, ever since it first opened, has been the host of the prestigious Italian Grand Prix. Of course, being our first overseas race in the NASCAR Series last year and our first international race within the iRacing era. And then this year, of course, having Montreal and Monza. Anything you had to contribute?
Oh, I thought you just had a full list. I didn't realize there was a handoff there.
Not a whole lot, no.
I mean, I was going to say I hadn't necessarily prepped for that. If I did, I would have a little bit more.
Okay, now analysis based on how last year went. We'll go with that.
I was going to say it's obviously a game changer, like you said, just having the chicanes in place as opposed to just absolutely sending it out of the parabolica all the way down that front straightaway. So you're going to have to be more technical than last year, certainly. But we'll see who that ultimately favors. I know you get an early indicator from the timing screen that we have on our stream right now, and it falls in line with what I saw during practice last night. And granted, there were only a handful of folks in that session, but yeah, not necessarily a shock to see where we are at the moment. I guess the only matter to figure out here is whether or not Jordan Kalinian can add this one to that growing list of road course victories and, get the taste of Montreal out of his mouth there from about a month or so ago.
Well, you can add another Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue poll, I can tell you that.
Yep, and he just went out there and did it straight away. As I think that was, if I take a closer look, yeah, it was his first lap that he set in the qualifying session. So just no nonsense. That's the Jordan Kalinian we know, just absolutely taking care of business right away. And yeah, just free and easy basically the rest of the session.
Indeed so. And thus, of course, with the road and street course, it only makes sense with the cars being currently on standstill. Just about halfway across the Monza circuit, we will introduce each and every one of them on a standstill. Cue up the music as well, and then I will go into iRacing voice chat and give them give a quick speech and then the most famous words in motorsports to get these engines fired up for 31 laps and 180 miles around Autodromo Nazionale Monza. I believe that's how you say it.
Yep, that works for me.
Something like that.
Yeah, let's we won't be voicing any future, Mario Brothers games. We'll put it that way.
Scratch 180 miles, it's 180 kilometers.
I guess that's us trying to retain the Canadian feel.
Something like that.
That's what we'll go with anyway.
So we're still waiting on a couple of cars to spawn.
Yeesh, what a word.
To magically appear.
I feel better about that one. I don't feel as dirty.
So I'd say, yeah, we're still waiting on the 97 to Ty Higginbottom, and then I believe we'll be just fine the moment he spot. There we go. Perfect. Alrighty. You ready to go?
Yep.
Alrighty, so here is the starting lineup for tonight's Pizza Main 180 round number 8 for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. There, the music should be playing now. So here we go, of course, starting on the front row. No surprise to see these two drivers back at it and together. But starting on the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue pole, the 00 Jordan Kalinian out of Salisbury, North Carolina. 6 straight road and street course poles. He'll look to cap it off, of course, with another road course victory alongside him. Still looking for his first win on the season. Number 17, of Corbin McCauley out of Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, looking for his first road course win since season 2. Row number 2 has your reigning Monza winner from last year, hanging on over Jordan Kalinian on the final lap. Charlie Sears comes to us from Charlottesville, Virginia for 499 Racing. Alongside him, the 13 of Jared Ireland out of Eudora, Kansas for Blue Collar Racing. Row number 3 has driver number 3 in the number 7 Ford there of Andy Hurdle out of Dayton, Ohio for 519 Atlantic Motorsports. Alongside him, outside the top 5, the number 3 of rookie Blake Thronberg comes to us from Graham, North Carolina for Back Row Motorsports. In behind him, pair of veterans since the very beginning, the 41 of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida for GTR Motorsports, alongside the 64 Ford of Darcy Ford out of Harrington, Prince Edward Island, and rounding out the field, the 4 of Mason Tomlinson, the Toyota for Hyperdrive Esports at Eudora, Kansas, looking for another solid run. He's had a couple of good recent weeks, and to round out the top 10, we have your runner-up finisher from last week, a top 5 finisher in Montreal. We'll see what he can do tonight. At Monza, the 85 of Raymond Hanneman comes to us out of Ottawa, Ontario.
All right, back half of the field is all Tornado Alley in the next 3 spots, as a matter of fact. So this will make things pretty easy. We start with the number 1 Nordic Aluminium Toyota of C.D. Mangrum out of Atlanta, Georgia, starting 11th. He's got teammate Adam Wilson in the number 21 out of Laurel, Delaware on his outside, starting 12th. And we talked about him a little bit in the pre-race show. The number 97 Toyota of Ty Higginbotham will start 13th. And then he'll have one of our rookies in the form of the number 29 GTR Motorsports of Mario Ercolani out of Parsonsfield, Maine, starting in 14th. Then it's an all-Canadian row 8, as we've got Mike Marini and his number 12 Toyota out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, starting 15th. 2-time winner on road courses in the past, it should be noted, both at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park back in the day. And on his outside, we head to Calgary, Alberta, where we find the number 25 Ford of Matt McDonald, another of our rookies in the field. And then we head to our back row, where we've got series founder and driver of the number 2 Penske North Ford, Dan Cudmore out of Stanchel, Prince Edward Island. And on his outside, to wrap up the field in that number 93 Zesty Paws Chevy, it's Tom Janikowski out of Appleton, Wisconsin.
And thus there is your starting lineup for tonight's Pizza Main 180 at the Monza circuit in Monza, Italy. Again, we are just about set to get round number 9 on season 6 underway. So we'll get into the iRacing voice chat. Have a quick talk with our drivers live. And then we'll go green flag racing for 31 laps.
Go green.
Alrighty, gentlemen, do we have a copy?
How do you say yes in Italian?
Alrighty, welcome to round number 9 of 21 for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing, our second time ever going to the Monza circuit, and of course, first and only time this season where we go overseas, second time international. Of course, exciting race, exciting finish last year, so let's try to build upon that to make it even better this year in the Pizza Main 180. Again, thanks to Pizza Main for stepping up as the title sponsor for this year out of London, Ontario. So, 18 of yous, best of luck for 31 laps. And with all that being said, gentlemen, start your engines. And thus, there you have it. The engines have been fired up here for tonight's overseas race at the Monza circuit in Monza, Italy. Second road course race on the year. And again, Corbin McCauley, Jordan Kalinian will lead this field of green. Here is your race analysis for tonight. 31 laps, just a couple laps less than what we had 1 year ago at Monza. Stages will be 9, 9, and 13. Fuel window about 9 to 11 laps, so we might see some strategy at play throughout this one. Pit road speed is 50 miles per hour. Of course, your reigning race winner from last year, the 32 of Charlie Sears, looking to go back-to-back and maybe do a bit of deja vu. He had a struggling start last year, and it seems like a bit of the same this year. Can he turn things around with a win and a clinched playoff spot at Autodromo Nazionale Monza?
I mean, he certainly put himself in a good place for it, and now, based on qualifying, we certainly know who the class of the field is, but we got to get some racing done here, boys.
Indeed, 18 of some of iRacing's best between Canada and the United States, ready to do battle overseas in the country of Italy, in Monza to be specific. Thus, the flagman will wave the green, and we are underway with the Pizza Main 180.
And immediately, Kalinian goes to that outside line to give him the best turning options into one. Don't think anyone's going to send it here. Yeah, looked relatively clean through one so far. Yeah, I think everybody made it through.
So far, so impressive.
Yeah, no arguments here.
Around turn 3, into the second chicane. Andy Hurdle about gave Jared Ireland a look as, Charlie Sears went off. Not sure if that was a force. No room. Back to third. Macaulay was sideways.
Yeah, that'll be guys still kind of feeling it a little bit here in the early going. And yeah, let's just see if... Yeah, I guess it typically helps if I'm focused on the right driver. Well, where did we go here?
Well, as you are doing that, Jordan Kalinian already nearly 2.5 seconds ahead of second place. Everyone has strung out single file for the most part, just trying to cycle through these early laps. Get comfortable again with this iRacing update that we follow. Trouble in the back.
Oh, that's Tomlinson sideways.
Edivariante Ascari. He gets it back going, but he will drop back to almost the tail end. Still ahead of Dan Cudmore. Magermoff too.
Yeah, I wonder if there's just something in the setup there as you saw him going sideways through the parabolica. That's never ideal. But, yeah, I wonder if there's just something in this Monza setup that is just not comfortable, excuse me, for the guys here in the early going.
And then Tomlinson also just lost it out of Ascari.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of excess wheel spin, trying to get the foot on the gas on the exit, perhaps. Maybe just hits one of the curbs as, yeah, there's Sears' sideways adventure. No harm, no foul, though, as no advantage was gained.
I think Jared Ireland just had a moment while we were checking back on what happened. I think Sears did as well.
Yeah. Sears still... Wait a minute. What am I looking at here?
And then Ireland went off. Okay, so Sears just dropped back a little bit.
Yeah, still... I was going to say, your board says 5th. Mine still says 3rd. I wonder if I'm off on a session somehow.
Well, we get back going. Sears has dropped back to 5th. Ireland's in 7th after starting in 4th. So top 2 still remain the same from the very start of this Pizza Main 180. Blake Thronberg has moved up a couple spots. Sears in behind him. Pretty much everyone's single file throughout the entire field. Tomlinson being followed by Cudmore towards way in the back. Almost 7 seconds between first and second.
And again, I'm not necessarily surprised by any of this because Like, as fast as we saw Kalinian go in qualifying here, the gap that he put on the field at that point, he was even faster at points during that practice last night that I was talking about. So it's just a matter of, the biggest thing will be maintaining car control through those chicanes, which again is the big differentiator between.
Oh boy! Whoa! Up and over was the 17.
Yikers Island.
I heard a reaction, but out of anything to come back to, there was a millisecond of a preview. What on earth has happened to the 17?
Did he just touch grass on the inside of Curva Grande and that got him loose? Like just on the end of the curb there, white line. Ooh,
that's
mama.
A wild ride. Wow.
Yeah, all that without a wall.
Well, I'm speechless.
Well, I mean, yeah, looking at that, I mean, if that happened anywhere remotely near real life, yeah, he's got blue and black on the car. There'd have to be a brown stripe in the middle if I was driving.
There might be a lot of brown underwear behind him. At least there was behind him before they passed him eventually, probably going WTF.
And we saw some grass get kicked up on that replay angle as well. As, yeah, I figured out what was going on here is we've got hurtling himself in a second as we get Thronberg turning Sears.
Yes.
And the gap is almost 13 seconds.
I can't even get back on topic. That was one of the most absurd things I've seen in a long time.
Well, understandably, he's in pit lane at the moment, so I'd be very curious to see what the damage looks like.
Well, you can see that right in front kind of poking out there. I think he was just a bit tad sideways getting into the...
A tad.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I just got a WTF response from the guy on the other side of my room.
I was going to say, yeah, a tad sideways. That's like saying I'm a tad overweight. So that was just, yikes.
I think even Bryce Fontaine is speechless in our live chat.
Well, I guess by definition, if they're not commenting in YouTube, they're going to be speechless, or we just don't know what they're thinking. But yeah, that was okay. Yeah, I see what he's saying now. I just popped into the chat, and yeah, that about sums it up.
See, the first instance, the first thing that came to mind was that we missed something. I mean, we kind of did. To be fair, we missed maybe a couple, like a second or two of it. But huh?
We missed the build up.
The build up, yes.
Miss the end result.
But out of all things, out of any track to be at, to kill your race.
Yeah, not ideal. And again, that's coming off a front row start too.
Oh, Magram's got another problem.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a rough go here tonight, hasn't he? And this is, might have just caught those sausage curbs in the middle of that first chicane.
Multi-time road and street course podium finisher on the series still has yet to pick up that victory, especially this season still is yet to visit the Thronberg.
Whoa. Yes, the Fast and the Furious theme is fully in play here tonight, I would say. Guys just hanging on for dear life.
Well, I did notice in a behind-the-scenes chat with this whole iRacing update, and of course this being the first road course race with this whole thing, we had Charlotte Motor Speedway. I can't finish
Oh.
any of my sentences tonight.
No, and yeah, Mercado, he was running right around that battle with Thronberg and Ireland in that kind of P4 range. And yeah, he just lost it.
Where was I at again with this whole update thing? We had Charlotte Motor Speedway to kind of get comfortable into it and see how it was, you know, a decent kind of the middle of the ground track for the whole deal. And then tying those off. What else is new? But as I was saying, you know, there was a lot of uncertainty going into that one. And then there was a little bit too here tonight, being the first road course race with the update. And of course, a whole different tire model as well. And there were one or two drivers that were saying behind the scenes that it felt like the cars weren't really running on rubber. It was more so they were like floating. Which I don't know if you call what just happened to this guy floating, but whatever.
I call it violent, certainly.
Violent, vicious, something.
Yeah, the other variable in all this is that Montreal and Monza are the two spots where we are not using default iRacing setups. So I wonder if that's playing a factor.
Could be that too.
In this as well.
Big car update, new tire model, setup shenanigans. I mean, it certainly has been a lot crazier, I think, than last year. Again, other than the finish, perhaps. Other than the finish, had a bit of drama behind it, but I have a feeling what Corbin just did probably beats out the whole thing.
I mean, visually, 100%, yes.
Yes. And then, yeah, Kalinian's just he's keeping his thing going. Just over 17, almost 17 and a half seconds ahead of second place. But again, it's early. You never know. You don't want to guarantee anything because we have seen a lot worse. We've seen miracles from other drivers before.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is look back to Montreal. You saw how Kalinian was dominating things there, stages 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And yeah, ultimately got caught up in the early stage 3 incident. The one thing he'll have in his favor this time around, significantly longer straightaway instead of that short run at Montreal into turn 1. So gives him some time to get away, break away potentially, and you know, could potentially provide a safer feel for him. Shall we say? Well, what was I saying about a safer feel?
Oh, Magrum couldn't get back going.
Man.
Those two have not had a smooth night so far, or day. Talking the server, the sun is clearly out, but moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is whoever can keep their car pointed straight the longest will benefit the most, obviously. As we see things getting a little smoky there.
Adam Wilson. I'm hearing laughing on the other side of my wall.
I could actually hear that through your microphone as well.
Gosh. I wonder
not
how
as clearly as you could, obviously, but
I wonder how many drivers are going to show how baffled they are when this thing is over. And there goes Tomlinson again. This is not Martinsville, boys.
Meanwhile, we just hit 2 to go in the stage.
Is it fair to say thank God?
Well, I mean, I'm sure a number of guys would say that. Like, the sooner this one finishes up, the better.
Yep. Almost 20 seconds now between the 0-0. And Kalinian's just getting around that wide corner now. Hurdle's just getting into the first chicane.
Yeah, that's... if you needed another demonstration, folks, that's just sheer dominance.
And having only an 18-car field here for tonight thus far, how about the 29? A rookie, Mario Arcolini, currently third in rookie points. And then looking back to the driver's standings, currently 18th. He has a minus 44 on his graphic, It's definitely a little bit closer knowing the whole deal again. You start an order with the drivers with the locks beside their names, and then you go the drivers without victories so far in the year, the best of the rest quote on quote. Technically, that term's not supposed to be used until we get to after the playoff field is settled, as there goes Mike Marini.
Oh, boy. Yeah, this will be a race that some guys will want to forget, I would suggest.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
We're going lawnmower racing.
Yeah, not by design, though, as... Yeah, I'd be curious to see. So this is a replay here we're looking at. So...
Whoa!
Jesus, yeah. Oh, even Ireland goes through the grass. I hadn't realized that at first.
Oh, barely. Barely a touch there. That is so... That's like shades of Kyle Busch at what just happened at Mexico City some time ago.
Well, not even that long ago, honestly.
Exactly.
But, yeah, ultimately, it looks like nothing changed position-wise there, so that's the main consideration, as, geez, things are getting a little slick. Which I guess that's as good a time as any to tell you that the track is 113 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so...
Okay,
that's
what's your
probably
humidity?
playing a factor.
What's your humidity? We still have the 001 for some reason.
Yep, mine is at 64.
Well, car 64 is doing solid, knowing everything that's happened, knowing what's happened thus far here tonight. Of course, the 64, of course, former NASCAR Series champion. He hasn't finished within the top 10 since Daytona, for a not so fun fact. So he'll be looking to kind of get back into a rhythm similar to what you more so experienced back in your days before I came along as stage checkered. This guy.
Yeah, we've got some time, to put it mildly, before the yellow comes out, though.
And something else happened for the 13 Boot Hill Distillery Camaro. Bertle's going to come around in his number 7 Atlassian and Duracell Ford for second. Car number 3 will get position number 3. Charlie Sears still hanging on for 4th, despite whatever on earth just happened there a lap or two ago. Darcy Ford will get 5th. Raymond Hanneman will come around for 6th. Jared Ireland 7th. Ercolani and Higginbottom will come through close together for 8th and 9th. And then to round out your top 10 for stage number 1, Jose Mercado. Bingo, there's the caution.
Yeah, I said it would take a little bit of extra time to get there. Certainly not for this guy, but, you know, for the rest of the field. Yeah, that was an interesting opener, shall we say. Like, dare we say, shades of the Indy 500 last year with the sheer heat of the track.
I just received word from a certain car number 17 saying there is apparently a video with a reaction, but I do not have I don't have expletives on hand, so we're gonna pass on that. Sadly.
I was gonna say, is it linked somewhere, or because a caution would be a very good time to view that privately.
Oh, it's in Discord. There's a screenshot, there's a video, and there's a Bryce Fontaine saying Corbin McCauley to the infield care center.
Okay, yep. Okay, there's the video.
So if you want to give us kind of a live reaction to a reaction, sure.
Oh boy, okay. Well, the fact that he included the setup for this being the happiest he's ever been to DNF, which I guess is confirmation. Yeah, let's just see here. And Yeah, he just got sideways. Yeah, and then... Yeah, he's laughing at this point. Like, yeah, you would need a couple of beeps for it, but yeah, it's not out of frustration at all. Which actually makes it even funnier.
Ooh, under caution,
Oh.
CD Magram
Yikes,
in Parabolica. Another problem through that final corner. Ooh, oh, wow.
Just maybe a little bit too aggressive with the inside line there, honestly. Because you do want to enter that Parabolica as wide as you can, just to not only get the better feel speed-wise, but to get the car rotated. Because if you're going in on the inside, like that, it's harder to crank the wheel there to get yourself straightened out. So that might have been a self-inflicted wound for the numero uno.
So as we are under the stage yellow, after stage number 1 out of 3, I'd say we might as well give a couple of shout outs to our sponsors and partners with a quick side-by-side. We won't go away. We'll let these guys go through some pit stops under yellow, and we will come back and follow up on how things played out, and then we'll go back. Green Flag Racing in the Pizza Main 180, or possibly the goofiest race of all time in the series. Something.
Mark at Little Rescues, and a great organization. And I want Mark to tell us a little bit about responsible ownership in all pets, but especially a little guy that you have here. Could you tell us about Arthur?
Arthur here, he was born a perfectly normal red-eared slider. He has what's known as metabolic bone disease. So he was, over his lifetime, denied proper nutrients and calcium and the basic necessities that a turtle needs to survive and grow properly. So with the compression on his internal organs, this will unfortunately cut his life short. But for now, he enjoys a really great life with the Little Rescue as our premier animal ambassador for animal cruelty and show people what not to do with the turtle.
It's organizations like this that need support. I mean, sure, we all have dog rescues, cat rescues, but when you see a guy like Arthur here, all pets need great care, and this is what the Canadian Pet Expo is about, okay? So come on down, learn about Mark and what he does with Arthur, and support such a great cause, okay? Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
We are back after that quick side-by-side there under this first stage yellow flag for the Pizza Main 180 at the Monza circuit in Monza, Italy. Round number 9 for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. And I think right off the hop to judge how this race has gone and for us getting back to the break, looking at our live chat again, we had JD Mangrum saying, wow, hurry up and finish this race and get back to the States.
I mean, I don't know how much Corbin McCauley would want to hear the word hop at the moment, but he's probably not wrong.
Well, 19 laps to go, lap 13 out of 31. Again, it is lap 18. That will be the last lap for stage 2. Again, 9, 9, and 13 being our stage lengths. So as you, what would you say there? How many laps of a shootout till the end of just the middle stage?
5.
To be fair, it does almost, it does take, what, about a minute and a half or so to get around this place?
Well, under these conditions, I would say at least 2. Because a race lap is in like the high 149 range or largely 150s for the majority of the field.
Or I meant to say 2 minutes. Yeah, I was looking at the, I think I was looking at the wrong thing there, but anyways, so after...
You can never finish too soon.
Yes. Well, the 17 kind of did, but anyways.
All right, yeah, we probably...
Anyway, he did in incredible fashion or whatever, but anyways, after all this cycling here through all the yellow flag pit stops under this first stage yellow flag, as you were talking about there, a couple cycling there back and forth. Higginbottom and Sears both up on the front row with 8-second pit stop time for the 97, 32 with 7, and then 3rd through 8th, all at 11 or higher. Adam Wilson was only 0.2 for some reason. Not sure if there was a mistake there. And then all these other, and then everyone else is practically around where you get 4 tires and fuel. Matt McDonald was only in for 5 seconds. It might have been just only, well, his stint's at 0, so maybe he came in again. Not exactly sure, but anyways.
Yeah, he did. I noticed.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Just a minute ago, yeah.
Magrum was in his box for over 2.5 minutes. I mean, can you really blame him after what happened there through the Parabolica? Corbin McCauley has been in for over 20 minutes. I mean, what else do you expect after one of the goofiest crashes we've ever seen in forever? I
mean, he himself has confirmed that it's a DNF at this point.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Take that for what it's worth.
It took until a week later for us to replicate what Mike Marini did at Charlotte 2 years ago.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just kind of the perfect storm for anything that could go wrong tonight seemingly has for a majority of folks in the field.
Around the Parabolica, it'll be Charlie Sears, your reigning Monza winner, and Ty Higginbottom to his outside. Pace car will roll off. It'll be 18 laps to go in the race. Lap 14 out of 31, so a 5-lap shootout to decide the second and middle stage back to green, the Pizza Main 180.
And we'll have to see if the pit stop discrepancies make a difference here in the early going, because I don't know if the time differences would be for fuel or tires, but I wasn't expecting Kalinian to be losing places off the restart, we'll put it that way. And yet he's dropped from 3rd to 4th behind Darcy Ford, as Charlie Sears actually got a good getaway there.
As long as no one loses the back end and goes into that sacred gravel right to their left, to our right, all good.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with another nickname for that turn now, in light of what's happened.
Whoa, Sears went drifting there.
What a save. But Hagee's right on top of him here as they come through the second Lesmo and onto this straight.
Kalinian's back there, but Kalinian's back in 3rd, so we'll Mercado.
Yikes.
I barely caught that.
Yeah, he's had a few kind of sideways moments here tonight as the field comes back together through Ascari. And Hurdle with the nice pass through Ascari as Ford's dropped back a couple of positions now.
Yes, sir. I just received word that car 17 just had his engine blow up on pit road.
Only now?
At this point, don't question anything.
Fair.
I was just saying there about Kalinian was in 3rd. I'm not sure. I don't recall if he restarted 3rd or he made his way up to 3rd after those first couple of corners and chicanes. But now up to 2nd, we'll see how quickly he can charge back up to the front. Only half a second back going into the first chicane. Thronberg locked the brakes up. It causes Ford to get off the pedal. Off the gas. Oh, Jared Ireland off.
Yikes, the first chicane claims another one.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, Thronberg,
How did he miss everybody else? That could have been so much worse than it already is.
Jeez, what I said about Kyle Busch in Mexico City earlier almost came true.
I mean, that was some Serie A level of punting there.
There goes Cudmore.
Yeah, that looked like it was in the second chicane.
Ireland had a boop.
I mean, that's understandable.
And Jordan Kalinian back to the race lead. What else is new?
Well, I think I can tell you what else is new is that I would suggest Ireland is about to retire from this one, as I think he went straight to pit lane.
Behind the car that had its engine spontaneously combust.
Oh,
just meanwhile, time would go, whoa! Oh! Wow!
Oh. Yeah, that is No's first impact in the Parabolica for Sears.
Okay, he dipped back below Kalinian and try to challenge for the race lead, and then
slid.
Had a moment with the wheel, and then bam!
Yeah, he would have gotten a fantastic draft off of Kalinian coming down that back straight out of Ascari. And Sears, he was trying to pull out to make the move sensibly, but the trouble with that is it exposed him to that inside line that I was talking about during the caution when Mangrum got caught out.
Well, add more heartbreak into this one. Your defending Monza winner looks to be out of the second annual Pizza Main 180.
Yeah, and I can confirm the disconnect there in the iRacing voice chat. Or text chat for me.
So I'd say that's 15 cars now remaining, assuming Ireland is done, and Macaulay absolutely 100% is done. I don't think he can run on a spontaneously combusted engine.
I mean, we've seen some strange things, but yeah, I don't think that would be qualified.
If only I had the Stranger Things theme song with me.
Well, if you did, we might get copyrighted. But, you know, this seems like probably a good time to make sure that we close the pit lane properly once Kalinian crosses the line.
Yep. He'll be coming to 2 to go in stage 2 this time by. And all that short of a span in our second and middle stage because of how many laps we had under caution. We had all of that happen within just a couple of laps. So, you know what? We might as well get it done and over with ahead of our, well, we'll probably be about maybe a 10-lap shootout to the end in our third and final stage. Might as well give a
9.
Sure. We'll give a big thanks to each and every one of our sponsors and partners for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. Of course, Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, GTR, Nordic Aluminium, Tornado Alley Racing, Zesty Paws, Amara Parker Racing, Valvoline Instant Oil Change, Little Rescue, Reptile Rescue, Repulinks, and of course, powering our Crank It Up, TrackCams22.com, and also powering these outstanding professional broadcast cameras that you see for each and every one of our live productions on YouTube for the E-Motorsports Network on iRacing. Okay, we'll let this little thing cycle out before we do anything. There's a lot of close to go. Okay, come on.
I was going to say that the cameras have been working overtime tonight. Thanks, TrackCams22.com.
All right, let's crank it up. And just like that, thanks to TrackCams22.com for powering our broadcast cameras for each and every one of our E-Motorsports Network on iRacing Live productions here on YouTube, and to the Stage 2 checkered flag. Again.
Margin's just a little closer this time around, though.
Yes. Marini will come around for that final position. There's the yellow. Jordan Kalinian.
I was going to say, normally we would say there really isn't much else to say, but again, the fact that Andy Hurdle was able to keep the gap closer in that sprint compared to the margin that Kalinian got out to in stage 1 encouraging potentially for stage 3 that we could see some action, but it's been just a clinic here so far, as Kalinian has left the rest of the field with precisely a 0 chance of doing anything.
So for stage 2 results, assuming where everyone is currently at right now, Kalinian first, Hurdle second, Thronberg third, Raymond Hayman fourth, Ty Higginbottom fifth, Darcy Ford sixth, Mario Carlani seventh, Tomlinson eighth, Wilson ninth, and Mike Marini with that final stage point, of course. Extra playoff point for the 0, where Kalinian now has 8 stage wins on the year. The next best is Scott Bailey with 3.
There, I stepped away for a second. I hope you weren't asking me a question right as I was gone.
No, I was just stating the fact that Jordan Kalinian has gone from 6 to 8 stage wins, and that's 5 more than the next driver.
And I mean, just like I said a minute ago, absolutely clinical the way he's gone about doing it.
Let me do my what? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right. So within the last, let's say, including tonight, between tonight and the last 3 races, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 stage wins, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That many stage wins within... Jesus.
And that's forgetting that he was taken out of Charlotte early.
Exactly.
Like, outside of that anomaly, just operating on a different playing field entirely, it feels like.
It's been that kind of pattern over the last couple of races where he's gone from 19th at Atlanta to 5th at Texas and then a win at Martinsville to 21st at Charlotte. Now here there's this domino. Oh my goodness.
Yikes.
Make that 2 drivers now with a problem under caution.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah. Does McDonald...
Okay. Was there a potential panic button hit? Because the field was... to be fair, the field might have been a little... He came around and the field was just about stopped there, so maybe there might have been something there. But anyways, we'll move on. But as I was saying there about the 0, it kind of feels almost like a Kyle Larson almost. Do you kind of get that in real life? Kyle Larson, every now and then he'll have his week where it's just nothing goes right. Then all of a sudden he's like first, second, or third. He's on the podium, top 5. He's doing incredibly well. Might even win the damn race. And then it's back to something goes wrong. Kind of feels like that back and forth.
Over the last month, certainly you could say that, but I mean, there's been a world-beating aspect to Jordan Kalinian from the moment he joined the series. Let's be clear on that. Like, he's been... Exactly. He pretty much set the series on fire when he joined last year. I mean, 8 wins will be evidence of that from his first season, and tracking toward a 4th here for this season tonight as it stands right now. And yeah, just nobody's taken to the field from the outside, so to speak, as quickly as Jordan Kalinian has. And it's been honestly a joy to watch. And I know it's pushed a lot of other drivers to get better to try and reach that benchmark too.
Now, one thing I just thought about, of course, we are in the midst of or closer to the end, really, of the Fort River Brewing Company in-season tournament, of course, going on through the entire month of July. Texas, Martinsville, and Charlotte done. Just about to get into this 3rd and final stage here at Monza. Penultimate race of the tournament ahead of the Repulinks 150 at Richmond next Monday night on June 30th, where at the moment, Scott Bailey's not with us, so Mason Tomlinson has already clinched his way into that in-season tournament finale. But there's still a battle, C.D. Magram versus Mario Ercolani. It could be either one of them, judging by how this has gone.
And, well, right now, given everything that we've seen Mangrum go through over the course of the year, it feels like the other finalist could be Mario.
You know what? Back before we got to Texas, did anyone possibly expect a potential Mason Tomlinson versus Mario Ercolani fight at the end of the whole thing? Again, not trying to speak too soon, but I'm just saying, if Ercolani hangs on, underdogs prevailing.
I mean, yep, that's 100% what the playbook called for. As Ireland has made his way back out on track 4 laps down. Albeit very, very, well, I guess just letting everyone else go by.
So after all of that, Andy Hurdle's going to take the race lead from Jordan Collini. And again, remember in that second and middle stage, we saw the difference between the first stage where Collini was like 20-something seconds ahead of second place, and then there was only a second and a half between. Like, again, stage 2 was shorter. Don't get me wrong, it was just a couple laps shorter, and we had maybe a little bit more chaos throughout the entire field, like with guys like Charlie Sears and Jared Ireland being up towards the front, and then all of a sudden now they're done. But, you know, stage 2, we saw a little bit more of that second on back or whatever, maybe a little bit more of a clean case. So now we wonder, how does it all play out for this third and final stage? Of course, 11 laps to go, coming to 10. And knowing the fuel window is 9 to 11 laps.
I would say
fair
green all the way in.
Yeah, fair to assume we'll be able to make it to the end?
I would have to think so, yeah. Because we were talking about 9 to 11 off the start, and they came in, you know, at 11 to go, not burning as much under caution. Theoretically, they should be fine.
And one thing that we did sort of forget in the Valvoline Instant Oil Change pre-race show, it doesn't apply tonight, but still, though, should have been a part of our recaps. The Zesty Paws Challenge, round number 1, got wrapped up last Monday night with our Zesty Paws 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway on June 16. Ty Higginbottom coming out of there with the lead, of course, out of the 3 races that we had in June, July, and August between Charlotte, Streets of Chicago, and Bristol Motor Speedway. Whoever accumulates the most points out of the 3 races will walk away with an iRacing gift card courtesy of Zesty Paw, the fellows at Zesty Paws. Of course, Tom Janikowski, you see his number 93 car pioneering that brand, so thanks to them, of course. Yeah, Scott Bailey, second place, being the winner at Charlotte, but with all the points accumulated, Ty Higginbottom, who was a stage winner, of course, coming in with the most points there. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out once we return to the Zesty Paws Challenge for the 81 miles of Chicago, presented by Zesty Paws on July 14th, and then back at again for the finale, Zesty Paws Challenge finale, the 250 at Bristol on August 4th.
And again, a very eclectic collection of tracks there, shall we say, in terms of the overall challenge required and the need to be a complete driver. The kind of standard configuration of Charlotte, like you mentioned, Chicago street course. I mean, hopefully this isn't a table setter for that. And then Bristol. That's going to be interesting.
Indeed it will be, and certainly tonight has been interesting to say the least. So it's Colleen and Hurdle. They'll be coming to 9 laps go. Yeah, actually, you were pretty right on the dot there for how many laps we will have till the end of this one. So 7 and 00, first and second, and then Raymond Hanneman, the rookie, alongside former series champion Ty Higginbottom, row 2. Through all the crap that CD Manger's been through tonight, he's right there beside Darcy Ford on row number 3. Just a couple possessions, or as a matter of fact, I believe he's right in front of the guy that he's looking to beat to make it into the next and final round for the Forked River Brewing Company in-season tournament. Champion being crowned again next Monday at Richmond. And then Marini, Wilson back there. Tomlinson, Marini, Wilson to round at the top 10. 15 cars on the lead lap and still remaining in this one. Jared Ireland back onto the track. As a matter of fact, 4 laps down. Charlie Sears is out. McCauley's still in his box because reasons. But anyway, should be interesting to see how this shakes out.
Well, I mean, our opening stage was 9 under green, so this will follow a bit of a similar vibe. Granted, obviously a pit stop mixed in there as well, but yeah, Andy Hurdle, he seemed to get a bit of a handle on that Mustang in stage 2, just to provide Kalinian with a challenge once the 00 got back to the top of the field. And yeah, we'll see if anyone's able to make this competitive here in stage 3.
One more look into our interactive live chat. Of course, yes, a lot of action we are having here tonight. J.D. Magram and Natasha cheering on Raymond Hammond, the 85, starting this one back in third there on the inside. iRacing safety car, pace car rolls off. Third and final stage for the second annual Pizza Main 189 lap shootout. Can Kalinian hang on and continue to dominate, or does Andy Hurdle or Raymond Hanneman dethrone him?
Well, certainly a great start off of that outside line. How about Hanneman moving into second straight away? Hurdle's going to be able to make the defensive move into the opening chicane. And looks like he got a decent run there as Erkelani goes curb hopping.
So far, so good. Hopefully not speaking too soon.
I mean, that's been the story of the evening for us, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone try to challenge here through the first chicane?
Or second.
Or second, excuse me, yes.
Well, this is an interesting top 3, to say the very least. Jordan Kalinian appearing to be biding his time. Nothing guaranteed, of course, as it has to be said, a fairly quiet second place run for Raymond Hanneman right now. We haven't really talked a whole lot about him over the course of the race itself. Certainly the pre-race, yes, but not so much during the action itself. But he's been able to make his way through the field, and yeah, here he is challenging as Wilson goes for a he turns his car into a bit of a Laurel lawn dart there.
Now we know the Parabolica has seen its fair share of odd accidents tonight. It looks like everyone will get through just fine on this first lap of this final restart. Again, there are no full course yellows when it comes to the road and street courses here within our series. You gotta go all the way to the end. So yes, if you decide to replicate Corbin McCauley, what he did there some time ago, then yeah, your night's done. And well, I mean, obviously your night would be done car wise, but for the rest of the field, they're gonna keep going no matter what.
Yes. Yeah, that's the very valid consideration that somehow we hadn't brought up over the course of the evening.
So Hurdle maintaining the charge of this field with 8 laps to go. Raymond Hanneman, Jordan Kalinian, the 00, filling his rearview mirror. Looking to get back towards the top. It'll be more of a challenge this time around, though. We did see him hard charge up his way within, I don't know, 2 or 3 laps or so in the previous stage. But I wonder, maybe Andy Hurdle has started to come to play in this second half of the race.
Yeah, Kalinian might be going inside into Ascari.
Nope.
He had a thought of it, certainly, but yeah, Hanneman able to shut that one off for the meantime. And Kalinian briefly looking around the outside, maybe just to try and intimidate the 85.
Oh, Hurdle went wide. Up ahead.
Yeah, I just happened to look up and see the gravel dust as I was moving from iRacing to my other monitor here. And our leading trio takes that opening chicane clean this time.
This could get interesting here. The two drivers, as I said earlier, fighting for that other spot alongside Mason Tomlinson for next Monday's Forked River Brewing Company in-season tournament finale. Magrum 7th, Ercolani 8th.
Oh, Kalinian on the inside of the second chicane. Beauty move there.
Yes, clean, spirited. Hanneman lets him get by. He knows the 00 is way faster as someone has an off Tomlinson again. To the second variante.
Yeah, just seems like guys are getting caught out at different parts of the track here this evening. As we'll go back to the weather. Track's starting to feel a little better, down to 102 now Fahrenheit, the track temperature from the mid 110s that we were seeing earlier in the race. So might start to allow for a little bit more grip out there. Marginally. And 63% humidity to fill in that one.
Yeah, marginally is a fair term to use, knowing how tonight has gone. As Mercado to the bottom of Ercolani. That could jeopardize the 29's chances of getting back at Magrum. Again for that final spot in the in-season tournament as Tomlinson sideways in behind them. Two rookies going at it for 8th.
Yeah, Thronberg tried to tuck in on the inside there too.
So Magrum gets another advantage over Kalani with 6 laps to go. Oh, Thronberg gets the dive in. Backs off. Oh, there goes Magrum.
Oh boy. And as if he hasn't had an interesting night.
And Ercolani's going to get by.
Well, that's what happens when that turn suddenly turns into a parking garage as it did a moment ago. It allows for opportunities for movement, and yeah, don't look now, but Mario Ercolani, like you said, is ahead of Magrum on the board.
And Tomlinson's around again. Oh!
Wilson with a clip.
Now back to where I wanted to be this whole time. Battle for the lead and the win brewing. Andy Hurdle versus Jordan Kalinian.
And it was in the Ascari where Kalinian made the move in stage 2. Decides to be patient this time around. He knows he's got a super long straight coming after the Parabolica. Or he might just go ahead and go for it now.
He chooses the outside.
And this would certainly be a power statement if the 00 were able to hold on.
Ooh.
But Hurdle doing a good job of running him wide.
He's really drifting it around. Up on that high curb. They'll be coming to 5 laps to go this time.
And now Kalinian's going to try and dive it down the inside, but Hurdle, a little bit of a mini defense on that one as they'll come into the first chicane again. Oh, a little bit of a hop on that curb from Kalinian. That's going to give Hurdle briefly some breathing room. Might be the first thing approaching a mistake we've seen from the 00, but it seems like it's not going to take him long to clean that up.
Of course, we talked earlier about the success that Jordan Kalinian has had on road and street courses since he first joined us 1 year ago. Meanwhile, in front of him, a driver that's been with us a lot longer than him, obviously, and has had his fair share of success on road and street courses as well, more particularly on the IndyCar and Formula One side of things. A two-time winner between IndyCar and, if you want to use the term dirt, then you may go ahead, as Kalinian will now try to make something happen. Nope, not yet.
Yeah, and that might be where Andy Hurdle can have a bit of comfort here, as Monza he'd certainly be very familiar with from racing all the other disciplines, as we see that look like Hanneman getting sideways out of Ascari. But that familiarity for Hurdle might allow him to have some different breaking points, have some different feels compared to, say, a guy like Jordan Kalinian, who, from my understanding, hadn't really run Monza all that much prior to last season. So just the experience in knowing the track itself, especially this Grand Prix configuration with the chicanes, other discipline experience might play into the Seven's hands here as he tries to defend once more.
If Hurdle can hang on through 9 races, including tonight, he would become the 6th different winner on the season. If you want to put those two numbers together, then there you go. Have your weekly moment. Oh, boy!
Oh,
Hurdle let him go!
That was beautiful.
Masterclass.
Just when Andy Hurdle might have been starting to get comfortable, oh.
Wonder if he might have given him some second thoughts there, because he got right a bit on his rear bumper there. Going into the chicane, and that has allowed Kalinian to go back to the race lead. Looks like Blake Throneberg just had something happen.
Oh, yeah, in that same chicane.
Loses the back end of the Fat Boy iRacing Wraps machine. No one else involved. Kalinian now
And
is
on
second.
we go.
Yeah, Kalinian now is second ahead, coming to 3 laps to go. There's just about under a second between, again, back to the battle, Ercolani versus Magram for that final in-season tournament spot against Mason Tomlinson, who's back in 14th. But again, Scott Bailey not here tonight, so he is clinched a spot nonetheless.
Yeah, and I mean, for Tomlinson, the fact that he did make it to the smaller field tonight, that's going to help him, get some points in relation to some of the other guys who are sort of in that bubble picture of the playoffs in terms of maybe a little bit of a cushion. We'll have to see how things transpire after tonight, but yeah, Tomlinson currently in, once you adjust the account for winners and all that, he's very much in right now. But you look at guys around him, Justin Belmonte not here tonight, Kyle Knoll not here tonight, guys, like they're both very much in that conversation, and to have that advantage and perhaps even some stage points along the way for Tomlinson, this could be a bit of a separator for him here as we look ahead to the final 5 races of the regular season.
And how about this former NASCAR Series champion, if he can hang on finally for a top 5 finish? We were talking about all the luck that has been against him in all here of Season 6. As long as he can hang on, coming to 2 laps to go, then all is good. As yeah, that's a pair of former NASCAR champions there between 4th and 5th, and then looking like it'll be the rookie Raymond Hanneman on his way to a potential podium finish and another top 5. on road courses this season. And thus to the start-finish line. Popsicle sticks in the air. 2 laps to go. Jordan Kalinian 2 laps away from win number 4 in the year and what would be road course win number 5 in the last 6 races.
And win number 12 on our all-time board.
Yeah, that would put him one. Well, that would put him 1 win behind Scott Bailey, who went up to 13 after last Monday.
Yep, back within striking distance of him, as I was about to get to. So, again, the fact that he's done that in a matter of give or take 30 races, like, impressive, I don't think is enough of a descriptor for it, to be quite honest.
Darcy Ford still challenging. Ty Higginbottom bottom. Oh, he went for the dive there. Oh, nope, not able to make it work.
Nope, not enough cowbell on that.
Just a little too hard, but there's still plenty of distance between him and Jose Mercado. So at this point, if Ford can just make it around, as I said earlier, simply just get to the finish, because this would be a monumental result for him. Again, still decent ways away below the playoff cut line, but this would be a massive jump regardless.
And again, another guy who could benefit from the above names that I mentioned not being here tonight. So they'll take a bit of a tumble down the board. And the other variable in that is that, as we see Mangrum and Thronberg getting a little feisty into the entry of Ascari. But what I was going to say was, as we've got the white flag now out for Kalinian, the other variable, we've had Bryce Fontaine contributing in the chat here tonight. We'll have to see what the points look like, as he will soon be in danger of falling out of the top 20, whether it's this week or next, which will unlock another spot potentially, although we know the 22 is going to be hard charging upon his return.
And if Ercolani can hang on for this final lap back in 7th, just over a second and a half ahead of C.D. Mangrum, it's all but him and Mason Tomlinson to battle it out for the in-season tournament as they get around. That's going to make it even worse for Mangrum, and that pretty much just solidified it for the 29 as long as he can make it to the end. Jordan Kalinian now just over 5 seconds ahead of car number 7. Now Adam Wilson going around. Janikowski gets collected in there as well.
Yikes.
He might be running after a top 10 finish now after all that still. Again, only 18 car field, but 15 cars remaining in this one. And here's car number 00 coming back around for the checker flag.
And I mean, from the first time that he said, it felt inevitable, but as a contrast to Montreal, Kalinian kept it clean tonight, and the end result speaks for itself.
Redemption from Montreal, and then from last year, redemption for Monza, and win number 4 on the season. It's Salisbury's North Carolina's Jordan Kalinian back into victory lane at Monza.
And again, we used the word clinical earlier to describe how things were going after stage 2. And it was a showcase in patience, as Andy Hurdle put up a good defense in stage 3, but an absolutely beautiful overtake into that second chicane was ultimately what sealed the deal for the 00, as he just further extends the championship lead with his second sweep in a matter of 3 weeks.
Andy Hurdle second, Raymond Handyman third, Ty Higginbottom fourth, Darcy Ford rounding at the top 5. Ercolani will come back 7th for yet another top 10 finish within the last couple weeks, so that means he clinches his spot in the championship finale for the Forked River Brewing Company in-season tournament at the Repulinks 150 of Richmond next Monday night. So it will be Mason Tomlinson and Mario Ercolani. Who saw that coming?
I mean, I love seeing it because, again, it's an opportunity for guys who might not necessarily always be toward the sharp end of the field to still be in competition. And yeah, just the way it's worked out over the course of over the course of June, these guys, they've been where they've needed to be. So kudos to them for getting to this point, and Richmond should provide a fantastic theater for our Forked River finale.
Indeed so, and the last couple of weeks have been back and forth where he'll gain a bunch of championship points, then he'll drop back. Kind of the league goes back and forth, but now it just goes right back up. As per usual for car number 00. How about Andy Hurdle with that runner-up finish, and then Raymond Handyman rounding out the podium with another great road course run. Another podium finish just like last week at Charlotte. Ever since that Texas win, that momentum just keeps going for car 85. And then Ty Higginbottom, 4th place. And Darcy Ford, finally, back in the top 10, but also for the first time in the top 5.
Yeah, and that should be an absolutely huge confidence booster for him. Again, taking advantage of having the smaller field tonight, affording him some opportunities. And he's a guy that's proven to be, comfortable in just about any situation, just hasn't had the results go his way this year. So maybe this is the start of the wave trending in the opposite direction for him, as Galenians are just going streaking here down the start-finish straight.
Well deserved. Leading the most laps and had a couple. Oh.
At least he saved that for after the race.
Yeah, exactly. For good measure, considering what everyone else, a lot of other drivers have had to deal with here tonight at the Monza circuit. So we'll talk to him in just a little bit. Another point I wanted to get to on Ty Higginbottom, that's back-to-back 4th place finishes, so tying his season best run thus far. Another great run for car number 97, Fortunio Alley. So he's going to, again, get his team some decent points in there. Not maybe exactly for CD Mangrum or Adam Wilson, but Higginbottom finishing up there will help nonetheless. We'll get through the rest of the results later in our Valvoline Instant Oil Change post-race show, but first it's time to talk to our race winner. 5 for 6 since he first began with us on road and street courses. And again, redemption for last year, falling short to Charlie Sears here at this exact circuit in Monza, Italy, and then dominating Montreal, and then things just did not go his way in the 3rd and final stage. So we'll have a word with Jordan for the 4th time this season in the Discord. You're already in there. Just gotta wait for our race winner. So hopefully in just a little bit, again, we will have word with Salisbury, North Carolina's Jordan Kalinian. Jordy and I currently waiting in the Discord voice chat. Looking in our live chat again, JD Mangrum saying, call the dogs and piss on the fire. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh, man. Yep. Well, we're not overseas anymore for the rest of the season, so you can be happy with that. We're staying in the United States for the rest of season number 6. I don't know if I'd say thank goodness to that, but anyways, moving on, staying professional. Looks like we do have a Jordan Kalinian now in our Discord chat, so let's go and have a word with him. Jordan Kalinian, you got a copy?
Got you, Regan.
I got you as well. Man, oh man, yet again another masterclass performance on a road or a street course here within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. Now 5 for 6 on them since you first joined us. And now win number 4 here this season, and yet adding on another win to your total victories since you first began with us in Season 5. And getting redemption for falling just short to Charlie Sears at Monza last year, and of course what happened a couple races ago at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Knowing how this went, stages 2 and 3, you had to take on a bit more of a challenge there and try to make your way back up towards the lead, a couple of positions back. But again, another dominant road and street course victory, a couple of challenges, as I said. How you feeling after that one? That was a little bit of a goofy race for a lot of guys behind you, especially.
Yeah, it was a pretty weird race for me, too. Just the strategy and stuff was just off compared to the rest of the road courses that we've done. There was no need for a green flag pit stop, so that was just kind of threw strategy out the window and just became survive and try to pass cars.
I know, again, that battle you had with Charlie Sears last year, and he ended up besting you there for his first career win. Was that at all in your mind from last year, wanting to be able to get that back and get the job done here in Monza, or not at all, just focused on, yet another race and just getting the job done?
That was definitely on my mind a little bit, trying to get by Andy there. It was a pretty similar battle, and I was on the other end of it this time and was fortunate enough to be able to make my way by.
And with this whole iRacing update with the next gen, you guys all experienced it back at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I know exactly didn't go in your favor a whole lot there, but between that Charlotte Motor Speedway and now here at Monza, talk about some of the differences in there and what this car really overall felt like here tonight and what's felt like ever since the update first came around, because this is the first time we're talking to you since iRacing did that whole overhaul.
Yeah, the 1.5 miles, the dirty air is just really hard. You really have to focus on where you're placing your car as you enter into the corner to make sure you're staying out of all the dirty air, and be a lot more focused on what you're doing with your throttle input to make sure it doesn't take off towards the wall. Road courses, the real difference I found was just the dirty air again. Once you get within about a half second, it just gets really hard to get any closer than that. So when you got the runs, you have to take them. It's a little bit more rear brake heavy than it used to be too, so we're walking up the rears instead of the fronts more often, which I guess cars a little more tail happy.
Interesting stuff. And before I hand over the talk here to Jordy, what did you get any kind of a decent view there of what happened to car 17?
I did not see it at all, but I heard a lot of yelling.
Okay. All right, Jordy, what do you got for Jordan Clean? Oh, what's that?
That's the thing, though. He would have been long gone by the time all that happened, because it's kind of feeds into what I was going to talk about, in that it was pretty much a showcase from your side of things, the way you just kind of ran away and hid from everybody in stage 1. And yeah, obviously I kept an eye on how things were going during practice last night as well, and I saw you were setting the times in the 48s and 49s at that point. So for you, what was sort of the biggest thing that you worked on to try and get some semblance of comfort on track tonight?
Yeah, stage 1, I wanted to push the car and see how the tires responded and how the fuel worked out. See if there's any strategies to play later. Just kind of feeling out the car. And stage 2, I thought there might be a play to only have to pit once for the rest of the race. So I was kind of lifting about 500 feet early and trying to save some gas there, but ended up at just that pit stop at the end of the the stage was enough to get to the end.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was, and this is sort of a thing that we keep coming back to with you in our discussions here. It seemed like it was just another showcase of patience in stage 2 and obviously stage 3 with the overtake of Andy. Just a showcase of patience from your side in terms of knowing when to make the move and just being in a position to make it stick. So, in looking at that last move on Hurdle going into that second chicane, what was it about that moment in time that made it the moment for you to make that work?
A couple laps earlier, I had made that same move on the 85, and it worked out really well. It was really hard to get any kind of a run on any of the other corners. The way that one sets up is you have the 2 slower corners after that, so you don't need to get the run out of the corner 2 to maintain that lead. Got into that corner a little bit harder than I wanted to. Andy had sent it in there too, and I was spacing my speed off of him, so I got it wheel hopping and just tried to save it. And luckily, I think he either wheel hopped too or backed out a little bit to make sure we both made it through there clean.
Yeah, and obviously the fact that we're talking about chicanes lends to a significant difference from last year compared to this year, in that this year was the Grand Prix layout instead of the no chicane layout we used last year. So was that sort of playing into the advantage for you as well, knowing that things were going to be a bit more technical than they were at this time a year ago?
I think the biggest thing that I enjoyed about the chicanes versus what we had last year is that we didn't have that long straight for the draft to kind of mitigate anytime you start pulling away. I think last year that draft really kind of like gained you a second if you had a car in front of you. So it kind of just broke up the track a little bit more and let me get a little more comfortable and just kind of mind my gaps.
Yeah, and obviously, it was, as I said, a showcase of what you were capable of, and the fact that, you clearly looked more comfortable than the lion's share of the field. So, yeah, well done on putting this one together. Win number 4 on the year now, and yeah, just back where it feels like is kind of right from your perspective here after a bit of a rough go there at Charlotte last week.
Yeah, definitely. Feels good to get back to victory lane.
And yeah, we'll see how that kind of moves over to Richmond, as I am going to hand it back over to Regan.
Yeah, speaking of Richmond, to wrap up this whole thing, how are you looking forward to that race, the Repulinks 150 next Monday night?
Before the update, I liked Richmond. It was one of my favorite tracks. Had some good success there in the last generation of this car. It's pretty good with before the update. I think with how the dirty air is now, if there's any kind of a second groove, I think we'll be looking at a good race. If there's not really a second groove at all, I think the leader's going to have a pretty big advantage. So it'll be a game of get to the lead and stay the lead, and that might be through pit strategy or just trying to outpace the field.
Sounds good. Who gets a thanks for being able to get the job done here every Monday night?
Just appreciate the league and all the sponsors for putting this on. Appreciate it.
And indeed we do as well. That wraps up our post-race winner interview. Once again with the 00 of Salisbury, North Carolina's Jordan Kalinian, win number 4 on the year. And yet another road/street course victory within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, 5 for 6 since last year. Redemption for last year's race at Monza, and of course for Montreal earlier this year. Jordan, once again, congratulations, and we'll see next Monday night. We'll be talking once again after the Repulinks 150 at Richmond. Congrats and best of luck.
Sounds good. Thank you, Regan.
And so welcome to our Valvoline Instant Oil Change post-race show. Thanks once again to Valvoline Instant Oil Change for powering our pre-race, post-race shows, and our team standings as well for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. To our unofficial results, we go, of course, again, Kalinian collecting yet another victory on the year, another career victory as well. Andy Hurdle, Raymond Hanneman rounding at the podium positions. A strong run there by Hurdle in the later goings of tonight's Pizza Main 180. Ty Higginbottom back-to-back fourth place finishes. Darcy Ford first top 5 on the year and his first top 10 finish since the GTR 250 at Daytona. Jose Mercado 6. Mary Arcolani, yet another top 10. I believe that would be now 3 within the last 4 races, if memory serves correctly, and that, of course, as well, finishing ahead of C.D. Mangrum, clinches his spot into the next and final round for the Forked River Brewing Company in-season tournament to wrap up next Monday night at Richmond. Mike Marini, Tom Janikowski with 8th and 9th place finishes. Marini had a couple moments throughout the race, but he was able to pull through. Bit on the lucky end there. Mason Tomlinson rounding out your top 10. He and Ercolani will go at it for the in-season tournament victory next Monday night. Through the rest of the field, of course, 18 cars participating. 14 definitely finished there at the line. I know Blake Thronberg was caught up in some stuff on the last lap. It looked like on the timing screen something might have happened to force him to not be able to finish because he did go a lap down on the final lap. But anyways, Matt McDonald 11th. That's his best finish in quite some time. C.D. Mangrum 12th. Daniel Cudmore 13th. Decent finish for him. Adam Wilson 14th. Blake Thronberg again 15th. And then Jared Ireland 16th. We did see him get back out onto the racing surface despite what happened earlier. There nearly wadded up a bunch of cars in the third and final stage. And then Charlie Sears, Corbin McCauley. Just the weirdest, the goofiest things to happen to them. Some of the most absurd stuff that we've seen in a very long time within the Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. Again, there was Martinsville a couple of weeks back, don't get me wrong, and then there was Atlanta for you, Jordy, but again, it's not the whole cautions breed cautions deal. It's more so just the circumstances with these situations that we had here tonight. And yeah, that's one way to DNF. Again, McCauley said out of any way to DNF, that is the happiest in his opinion. So if that's the way it is, then so be it for him to run at this 18 car field here in the second annual Pizza Main 180, and we'll head back to the booth here for one final time. Regan and Jordy again, of course. Final thoughts, analysis from all the flubily flop that we saw tonight?
Well, I think everybody just take a breath now because we always figured, Monza might be a bit of a wild card. Road courses tend to produce some strange things, and this might even be stranger than either one of us would have expected. But now it's just a 5-race sprint toward the end of the regular season. And yeah, now that we have some updated points, things are really starting to get tight around the bubble. Currently, it's a 4-point split between Adam Wilson and Mike Marini for what will be the final spot once you account for Will Kern dropping out of the top 20 with his win. And, you have a few other guys within striking distance. So we'll have to see, just how the next 5 weeks unfold. I think this was the last of the, super unpredictable, perhaps, races. We have the Chicago street course still to come. But in terms of just sort of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Not drama, but a night where things can get overly ridiculous. I feel like this is probably the worst is behind us. And yeah, now it's just kind of hard charging from here on.
Say it.
That's entirely your doing, sir. It is nice, though.
Yeah, there we go. So a 69-point difference in the overall points between Jordan Kalini and C.D. Mangrum. So he extends his lead once again. As I said earlier, it's kind of back and forth. He extends it, then it drops, then extends, and so on and so forth. So the top 3 in overall points, again, remaining the same. Higginbottom moves up a spot, Thornburg +2, Andy Hurdle with a +5. That's impressive. You see the difference here. Again, some drivers, have been kind of on and off with their starts, especially some of our other winners within the series. You see Kalinian with 4, then you go all the way down to 9th, and then there's Hanneman again. He has 2 less starts. He started with us a couple races into the season at Homestead. There's the 1 win. Scott Bailey with 2. Bryce Fontaine all the way back here, right there, just above 20th with a win. Then Will Kern back in 23rd. Of course, he's not racing with us anymore from what we have been told. So,
and if you sort by that wins column, that gives you the true picture for the playoffs. Like if you click on wins there, with the exception of Kern still being toward the top. Yeah.
Oh, it does that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Again, the one misleading thing would be, again, Will Kern will be dropped out if he doesn't come back.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. So 4 points between Wilson and Marini. And then Ford is now back only by 9. Justin Melmani only a decent back. Ireland still has to catch his way out because he has a couple less starts. But you said a couple of things shaken up there within the championship hurdle with a significant jump on his end, that's for sure. And Higginbottom had already done that a couple of races back, being up there, of course. So, yeah, like an Adam Wilson, a former Dover winner, Marini, still trying to break a Marini Ford, a couple veterans, pioneers of the series, still trying to break long winless droughts, but at this point, it's just simply trying to get into the playoffs and trying to build upon that momentum. And then Justin Melmani with a couple less starts, but still well up there with a bunch of points and a couple better finishes.
Tonight is what dropped him by not being here.
Exactly.
And Hurdle, we talked, just to go back to that jump, sorry. Yeah, that's obviously a huge rebound for him missing Charlotte last week with the extra stage. Without Jordan Kalinian in the field, it's a hurdle sweep as he went second across the board. So that's the kind of night that the number 7 needed, and he really has himself firmly planted in the picture here now as we get toward now we're firmly into the back end of the regular season.
Absolutely, we are. So looking at the schedule here, that was Monza. We just got completed. So now we'll be going to round number 10 of 14 for the regular season, round 10 of 21 for the overall season. 5 races remain until we begin the 6th annual Earl Ross Cup playoffs. The Repulinks 150 at Richmond is coming up on June 30th. Quite a run we got coming up, I'd say, at least after Richmond, because I know Richmond in the past has kind of, been an up and down sort of thing, usually spread out racing, and you usually have a dominator for the most part. I know we've had a couple weird moments in the past, one in particular I am thinking of, but I'm not going to mention it. But Indianapolis, Chicago, Darlington, Watkins Glen, I know that when we get into the month of July, that's really when things are going to start to shake up, and that's when a lot of the drivers, especially on the cut line, we might start to wonder if they're going to start getting desperate at that point to start winning races. And, if they're not, if that the whole point steal there, if they're a decent way back and wouldn't be able to make it up mathematically, we could see some desperation at play, especially, I'd say. I feel like Richmond would definitely be one of them, and then Darlington, because, again, after Richmond, it's 2 ovals, a street course, and a road course. And I guess if you throw Richmond in there, it's essentially a short track. So, lots to come together, lots to play for. It could really come down to the wire in these final 5 races.
It could, but I mean, the one saving grace for the drivers who are around that bubble is if Jordan Kalinian keeps winning, that means there's more spots that just open up mathematically, because as it stands right now, even with dropping Will Kern, there's going to be at least one driver that gets in purely on points and without a win. So there's absolutely going to be something to play for at the bubble, as opposed to just that win and you're in mentality, but that certainly makes things a lot easier.
Indeed. So for round number 10 for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing, it will be, again, the Repulinks 150 at Richmond Raceway, Monday, June 30th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic, live here on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on what's next to come for the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. And again, the championship finale for the Fort River Brewing Company in-season tournament to wrap up the month of June. Mason Tomlinson versus Mario Arcolani, two underdogs, are going to do battle for that in-season tournament victory. That's going to be quite the story to witness in next Monday's race. Any final thoughts after tonight, Jordy, and how are you looking forward to Richmond and Tomlinson versus Arcolani? How do you think that could play out?
I mean, that's certainly an interesting subplot to next Monday night's race, isn't it? I mean, mentioned it during the broadcast itself, the fact that it's nice to have these kind of different things for drivers to fight for. And I think you and I would be the first to say that maybe we didn't expect this final once we started this in-season tournament. But like I said, it's kind of right place, right time. And we'll see which of these drivers is able to kind of navigate some of the perils that Richmond can present and ultimately give themselves a little bit of a badge of honor within the series with the inaugural in-season tournament win.
Absolutely. We will find out and get all of our answers next Monday night with the Repulinks 150 at Richmond Raceway. So until then, of course, that will do it for tonight's live production of E-Motorsports Network action on iRacing. So on behalf of myself, Regan McCauley, Jordy Carraher, competition committee, all drivers, staff, partners, everyone involved in making this happen, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to tonight's Pizza Main 180 at Autodromo Nazionale Monza in Monza, Italy. Of course, Jordan Kalinian picking up victory number 4 on the season. Congratulations once again to the Salisbury, North Carolina driver. He'll try to go for yet another one next Monday night at Richmond, right here on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. Stay tuned to our social media pages within the next couple days for updated points, results, all the above, everything you need to know to stay caught up for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. So take care, folks, and we will see you all once again for another round next Monday.